In at 10, not first. Apparently, unlike everyone in the YouTube comments, the puppet was not indeed first. Well, the first victim of William Afton. At least that's what we thought at the time. And while that idea did vanish before Security Breach came out, let me explain why we thought that the puppet wasn't the first victim. Because we thought it ended up being Chica, because she told us so in Ultimate Custom Night, saying that she was the first and has seen everything. Which is pretty weird when you think about it. Like, I don't know why we thought that Susie was going to be the first one to die. It should have been Charlotte, and it was Charlotte, but that one line messed everything up. Like, why is it that every time we think we have something right about the series, and then like we have it locked in, and that like it's established within the community, Scott ends up like just throwing it down the drain, or making us think that he does. Like, it happened with the puppet in this instance, and it happened with the identity of Michael Afton multiple times. Like, every time we think we have something figured out, unless it's been directly confirmed by Scott in like a Reddit post, he throws it out the window. Well, like on like our first assumptions that the puppet was first. But then he threw it out the window, and then he went out and then threw it back in. And at 9, give life. From the FNAF 2 minigame, Give Gifts, Give Life, we can tell that the puppet, while being the first, because they were the first, okay? The puppet was the first, but it was also the one who brought the other animatronics to life in the suits, or at least gave them the ability to move. We see that the children lay dead on the ground, and then the puppet goes to give them gifts to cheer them up, because they look sad, because, you know, they're dead. But when that doesn't work, the puppet, for some reason, is like, oh damn, they must be dead-o, let's bring them back to life in the animatronic suits or something, which it's pretty interesting from a lore standpoint, since what we know about Remnant, because like they were in the suits, they had possessed the suits, but I guess maybe the puppet activated their Remnant, something like that. I mean, there weren't really any Remnant based animatronics after this, because the Fun Times aren't possessed, and then the only one that gets possessed is Springtrap. So hey, I don't know, it sounds weird. Maybe they didn't originally suffer enough and the puppet had to spark them, which sounds even worse. Oh man, like, well, the FNAF series will literally do anything at this point, so I can never know. But you know what? None of this is as fun as killing Braith in Skyrim.
What a deviation from the script.
And it ain't behind the mask. Do you want to know who's behind the mask? Do you, like, really want to know? Because you already know, people. Come on, I literally said it earlier. It's Charlotte. Yeah. Like, okay, I mentioned it, I mentioned the name of Charlotte, but you knew that already. It's not like this channel is introducing you to FNAF right now. You're all here because MatPat isn't uploading any new FNAF videos, okay? Either way, the one hidden behind the puppet mask is Charlotte, Henry's daughter, as revealed in the original FNAF novel trilogy. We technically don't know her official name in the games, since her grave was blurred out in the gravestone ending of FNAF 6, but nevertheless, it's still Henry's daughter, as told to us by Henry himself during the final monologue of the real FNAF 6 ending. We know that this is Henry speaking, not only because he calls the puppet his daughter, but also because in the Insanity ending we hear an audio file play, and on the monitor, the actual computer file is labeled as HRY223, and HRY in this instance would mean Henry. So yes, Charlotte, or Charlie, is the puppet. And at 7, their appearance. The puppet has a very simple design, okay? Dark, black fabric covering the body, or like covering the endoskeleton. I guess it has an endoskeleton. I don't want to see the puppet's endoskeleton, that just seems weird. The only deviation from that is a couple of white stripes near the wrists, and then the mask. See, even dead kids possessing puppet animatronics will wear masks, people. The mask is simple yet a freaky design. It has solid black empty eyes and purple streaks running down like the side of those like voids. It's like, I don't know what that is. Like, it's supposed to be tears, but it's not the crying child. So like, what the hell? Plus, it has red cheeks and then some like, it's like some damn demonic Pikachu level crap, okay? And then it has a mouth that makes me not want to know what that mouth do. Because it's probably gonna eat my face, okay? This is a creepy animatronic, especially when it's presented in the right way. Like when it's walking down the hall in FNAF VR. But other than that, if it's just chilling in the music box, it's relatively fine, even if it's poking its head out. Like, why is it that people like use nursery rhymes to make things scary? Okay, like Pop Goes the Weasel, for example. That wasn't scary. That wasn't intended to be scary. Why do people use it when it like in a creepy situation? It's not okay, all right? Children are already scary enough. I almost got stabbed by one when I was working in an elementary school, okay? Well, I mean working, I was doing co-op, but then like some kid came at me with scissors, okay? I thought it was a joke, but no, that was, the teacher wasn't around. He just came at me. But luckily, they were safety scissors. It's like, I would have put that kid on the ground. Okay? I really wanted to. I just went, boom, you know?
Uppercut instead of flying across the portable. Boom! Call me William Afton. Just
I would have done it. And it's 6 key player. When we talk about FNAF, you usually think about the Core 4 animatronic. The ones that have had multiple versions of themselves made and appear to be in basically every game, aside from Chica and Sister Location, I guess, and Bonnie in Security Breach. I don't know, I guess Scott might have been a little too worried about the fan art, especially based on Bonnie x Chica, which is a whole other can of worms. And you know what? Y'all need to be sorted out for that. That's weird. However, even though she got introduced in the second game, the puppet has been present in at least 6 out of the 8 FNAF games, appearing in FNAF 2, FNAF 3, FNAF 4 as Nightmare On, FNAF 6 in the Security Puppet minigame, Ultimate Custom Night, FNAF VR, Help Wanted, and FNAF 1 in the form of the poster that can sometimes appear on the wall. And they've actually kind of been in FNAF Security Breach if you count the like the discontinued staff bots, like the broken ones that have like the in your dreams written on them, like the Vanny bots, the Vanny versions of the bots. Yeah, she was also in Security Breach. So yeah, the puppet has been a pretty core character, if I do say so myself. At least, you know what I do. Screw it, I say it myself. Halfway through into number 5, first. While we thought that Charlotte may not have been the first victim of William Afton, she was still, at least at that point in our minds, the first to possess any animatronic. This was shown to us in the Security Puppet minigame, where we see the puppet and Charlie combine after she was brutally killed by Afton outside the Fazbear joint. And with what we knew about Remnant and Agony, how the true possession only comes from intense pain and emotion in the form of agony, we can be damn well sure that she was in agonizing pain when she was killed. Not only was she, like, you know, stabbed at the hands of her father's friend and business partner, but she was also stuck outside of her favorite place on Earth, somewhere that was literally designed to defend her. But the security puppet was blocked off by an unknown source, okay? Maybe it was just a couple of bullies who wanted a girl out of their fun, maybe it was Afton setting it up. Who knows? Either way, she was in agony. So much so that when she died, she was instantly able to possess an animatronic that was designed to defend her. So much that it sacrificed its life crawling inside the rain, and it's like Henry coded himself into the puppet, but that's a theory for another day. Especially when Glitchtrap is sentient code. Maybe Henry is sentient code in like the puppet, kind of. And at 4, Lefty. The Lefty animatronic is actually an acronym, LEFTE. It stands for Lure, Encapsulate, Fuse, Transport, and Extract. So before you go off into the comments saying that the number is spelt wrong, it's not, okay? We spelt it exactly right. It's just more commonly written with a Y. This version of Freddy, which technically it is because it's a bear, don't come at me, okay? Any bear with Freddy characteristics is a version of Freddy in my eyes. Anyway, this bear was specifically designed by Henry to emit the bracelet code that corresponds with the one that Charlotte was wearing, as we see in the Security Puppet minigame, the green one. Then we use that bracelet to lure the puppet, which has Charlotte inside, towards us to capture her. Then we bring her to the pizzeria from Pizzeria Simulator so then we can free her soul. This line is such a good example of context and delivery. Like the way that I kind of put that is nice, like he wants to free her soul. But if I was like to say something like capture her and then bring her to the pizzeria so that she could burn with the rest, which is still true, that sounds a lot more sinister. So it just goes to show you that maybe you need a little bit more perspective on everything you read or hear or do or experience. You're welcome. Getting close to the end in number 3, creation. The creation of the puppet is very straightforward. I've been kind of saying it this whole video. Charlotte was brutally killed outside of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, as seen in the FNAF 2 minigame of Take Cake, where Freddy is tasked with bringing cake to crying children, while we helplessly watch her get killed outside of the joint by none other than, you guessed it, Matthew Perry. Not really. But that's what takes us to the events of the Security Puppet minigame for FNAF 6, where we see that the puppet actually heads out back after this to find the body of Charlotte, and then it falls next to her. Well, it falls first and then it crawls over to her, allowing her to live on by possessing it, which potentially then takes us to Midnight Motorist, which makes me think that Crying Child saw Charlotte being killed by his father, since she was at the Fazbear restaurants and then the game was called later that night and he was already gone. But again, That's not certain. That's a theory we've already talked about, I think. But ultimately, in at number 2, fan versions. While the normal puppet animatronic may not be scary per se, the fan-made versions of the character are damn freaky. Take the character of the Reaper puppet, for example, from Final Nights 3 and 4. The scrapped Withered puppet that was showcased by Amanda in Top 10 Scary FNAF Fan Animatronics Part 2 from ages ago, or literally any other animatronic puppet that has ever been created, okay? I don't know how people are so easily able to make this damn thing so freaking terrifying. I usually don't include fan-made versions as a number on fact lists, but you know, for some reason, so many people want to make terrifying versions of the puppet. Like, what about the Havoc puppet from Dermitibus? Have you seen that thing? It's like the spiders in Australia got their hands on the illicit substances that bodybuilders use. If you're mad about like weird phrasing, blame YouTube, not me. Okay, this puppet has got me unable to speak. And finally, in at number 1, family ties. The puppet is one of the few dead kids to have a connection to someone important in the series, the others being members of the Afton family. The puppet, on the other hand, is a member of the Emily family. Well, at least according to the book, their last name is Emily, but who cares at this point? Out of everything we want answered, you decide to give us Henry's last name? Like, we legit have a whole few lists about the top 10 FNAF unanswered questions, mysteries, things we want to know, but yeah, tell us this. Tell us their last name. Also, you should go check out those videos, by the way. However, Charlotte has more of a connection to anyone than anyone else in the series. I mean, she is Henry's daughter, the mastermind behind the animatronics of the Freddy restaurants, and then she was killed by William Afton, the business partner to her father. She was also probably friends with the kids that go on to be the missing children since their parents were together so much. She was also probably friends with Afton's kids since their parents were together so much, and you know what, just because it's Scott, she was probably friends with the 5 missing children from 1985. So yeah, and then she also brings life to them, so yeah, you know what? I count it. That's all. In at 10, Purple Guy. We know that William Afton is the infamous Purple Guy who was introduced in FNAF 2 and has subsequently appeared in almost every FNAF game, with the exception of 4 and 5. We know that William is the one we know as Purple Guy thanks to originally MatPat and Game Theory, who suggested that the name William Afton that had appeared in the Silver Eyes novel would be the name of the game killer, since he was the killer in the novels. Lo and behold, come the opening cutscene for Sister Location, we hear William Afton being questioned about his design choices with the baby animatronic, and with a single line we get name confirmation. Those weren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton, instantly confirming MatPat to be correct, and boom, you looking for this? We all got the name of the man we would one day love and hate at the same time, but mostly hate, at least in my case. And at 9, Springtrap. And since we know that William is the purple guy, well, the purple guy that's meant to represent a shadow, we know that William is the character known as Springtrap. We learned this in one of the final Between Night minigames of FNAF 3, where we see William, after disassembling the animatronics, confronted by the souls of his child victims. However, they're, for some reason, freaking him out. I mean, like, it's understandable because, like, they're child ghosts and those are always freaky, but, like, you've already killed them once. just do it again. And in an attempt to feel more confident, or maybe to scare them away, he hops back into the golden spring-lock bodysuit which he used to lure the children away originally. But thanks to a leaky ceiling, the mechanisms holding the robot parts back, known as the spring locks, fail, and William gets shoved full of thousands of tiny little metal bits and robot bits. This is what we came to know as the spring locking. 30 years later, William is somehow still alive and uses the suit to hunt us down during the events of FNAF 3's main game. And at 8, CEO. We also know for a fact, thanks to the aforementioned Silver Eyes novel and the unreleased FNAF AR Faz facts, that William Afton was indeed the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment. He also had a partner named Henry in the books, whose first official appearance in the games was in FNAF 6. Henry's the one who delivered the final speech in that game, and this was proven thanks to the Insanity ending, which ends up playing a voice recording that's labeled HRY and then a couple numbers, but HRY meaning Henry. However, as the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment, or at least the co-owner, William had uninhibited access to the entire network of Fazbear locations, which is what made it so easy for him to lure kids away and to know where the best places to kill them would be. I mean, I hate to be blunt by saying that, but like saying something like knowing the best places to go and do the deed, or a similar phrase, is probably more likely to get us flagged at this point. But yeah, William Afton is the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment. And at 7, main antagonist. William Afton, even if he is but a single man, or I guess a single dad, more on that in a minute, he's still the driving force behind this entire series, and the main antagonist of every single game. To this day. actually. Sure, we may have to fend off some animatronics for 6 hours, but that doesn't mean that they're the overarching antagonist to the series. None of this would be happening if it wasn't for William. It's like a D&D campaign, with William Afton being the big bad evil guy, or BBEG, while the various games and the animatronics are the individual adventures and the minions that you fight. Yes, they're also antagonists, but the big bad evil guy is the reason they're there, therefore he is the main antagonist. William, in this case, is the BBEG, since all the animatronics got possessed because he killed the kids who possessed the suits, including his own daughter. Speaking of which, in 6, family. Afton's family is messy business, with all of his kin meeting some kind of grisly fate. Afton is the first, since he gets spring-locked 30 years before the events of FNAF 3, but that's game release date-wise first, since in the case of the actual timeline, first up is Elizabeth Afton, who, despite her father's warnings, gets a little too close to her favorite animatronic, which ends up being Baby. However, this causes Baby's killer instinct to activate, resulting in Elizabeth getting grabbed by a giant claw, scooped, and then crushed inside the animatronic, who then she goes on to possess. However, at some point earlier, Afton's wife or baby mama or significant someone ended up dying or going missing or just leaving him. We don't really quite know what. But we can be sure that it isn't pretty, since there seems to be no references to her in any of the game. Crying Child ends up getting killed after his head gets crushed by Fredbear in 1983 and he dies in the hospital. Then William himself gets spring-locked and then burned multiple times, and then Michael gets his innards replaced with innards and turns physically purple and burns to death in the FNAF 6 fire. There's a lot of fire in these games, and the little arsonist in me loves that. The cops are going to use these videos against me if I'm ever accused of literally anything, and I know it. Halfway through into number 5, first victim. Now the topic of who ends up really being the first victim is still debated to this day. However, there are currently 2 possibilities, so I will cover both options. The first, ironically, and the original first victim was the puppet, Charlotte, Henry's daughter. Keep in mind that Henry was William's business partner and co-owner of Fazbear Entertainment, most likely until his daughter died. We thought the puppet was first since, well, they seemingly gave life to the other animatronics, or at least showed them how to control themselves, given that they're just intense human emotion. And the daughter of your business partner seems like a more important kill than some random kid with blonde hair. Speaking of which, the other potential first victim is Chica, Susie, who wasn't in the running until one of Withered Chica's voice lines from Ultimate Custom Night that says, "I was the first. I have seen everything." Which could mean that she was the first victim overall, but it could also simply mean that she was the first of the missing children's incident from 1985, when the original 5 animatronic victims were killed. So currently, the general consensus is that Charlotte was the first overall victim and possesses the puppet like we see in the security puppet minigame, and then Susie was the next direct victim in 1985 at what would be the start of the missing children's incident. And at 4, parallels. Now I talked about how William's family suffered as much as they could, perhaps as a way to torture William just as much as his DNA. However, he seems to have quite a few similarities with all of his kids, especially in how his story unfolds. The first and most obvious one is that in The Man in Room 1280, the 3rd story of the 5th Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, we see William in a coma after the FNAF 6 fire that was supposed to have killed him. This directly parallels to how Crying Child was in a coma post-bite in FNAF 4. We know that he was in the hospital thanks to the IV, flower, and pill Easter eggs, and the heart monitor that stops at the end of the game. However, William also shares moments with his other kids. Elizabeth ends up getting trapped inside Baby and possesses her. William ends up getting trapped inside Spring Bonnie, and while he doesn't possess it, he does control it just by moving. Since, like how Michael is filled with Ennard and his robotic body, William was filled with the robotic bits of that spring-lock suit, and I mean, they're both purple. One is figuratively purple, that being William, but still. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Possessed. In the same novel where we learn about what happened to William after the fire, we also learn the reason this man always comes back. It's because he was possessed. The one you should not have killed from Ultimate Custom Night is not just an angry victim, but rather the spirit that's been keeping William alive this whole time in order to watch him suffer. In the book, this kid's name is Andrew, but this possession explains how William is able to survive fire after fire, being locked in a windowless and foodless room for 30 years and being shoved full of millions of robotic parts, and how literally anything that happens cannot cause him to actually die with any form of permanence. Of course, course, now he's sentient code, which is probably one of the scariest things imaginable. So FNAF is about to become a sci-fi series as we try to erase every instance of him as if he was Zoloft from the MCU. I mean, like, normal sentient robots are terrifying, especially sentient AI, but sentient AI that's literally the consciousness of a serial killer targeting kids is absolutely horrific and unwarranted. Penultimately, in at number 2, had to have connections. William is a clever man, but for some reason this guy still hides the bodies in the worst places. Sure, I don't think cops would initially check animatronics for dead bodies of missing children, but when reports started coming in about them leaking mucus and blood, I think that there would be an investigation. Plus, these animatronics are on display. They're out in front of a crowd on a regular daily basis. One thing goes wrong and everyone ends up seeing your horrible deeds. So in my opinion, we know that William had to be paying someone off. Whether it be the police, the courts, the state, whoever it was. Someone was getting paid to leave him alone. Because cops don't just get reports of robots bleeding where some kids went missing and they never found the bodies of those kids and then just not go investigate. Plus, even if William had cleaned out the animatronics, they would still ask why they were bleeding in the first place, and then take these robots in as evidence to inspect and probably have their own robotics expert look at it just to see if they could actually have the mechanisms to leak blood from their eyes, at least if that's an excuse William used. William is a smart man, but damn, he's dumb. And dumb criminals are the ones who get caught. So the fact that he didn't get caught means he had to have some form of connection or payment plan worked out with someone. And finally, in at number 1, he planned his spree. A lot of people wrongfully assume that William Afton turned to killing in an effort to bring back his children after he saw that his daughter possessed Baby. However, thanks to the fast facts found in FNAF AR's game files and just logic, we know that this isn't the case. Quote from the fast facts: "Some of the first animatronics built by William Afton featured claw mechanisms that were able to hide away items inside them. The only animatronics we know that are able to do this are the Funtime animatronics, and that's because of Baby. And since these are some of the first animatronics built by Afton, we know that he always intended for kids to be able to be grabbed and stored inside these robots. Which begs the question, why? Why would Afton want to start killing in the first place? It could be because of whatever happened with or to his wife, but if someone kills out of anger, they usually want to do it themselves and not with robots who do it for them. And since Baby was built with this claw mechanism in mind, he didn't know about robots getting possessed before the desire to kill reared its ugly head, because Baby was being designed with the claw that would later then cause Elizabeth to possess her. So what could be the initial trigger? We still don't know. But what we do know is that William Afton had killing in mind way before his kids entered the fray and before he found out about possession. And at 10, suit. The suit that Vanny wears and the suit that she is known for is no doubt inspired by Afton and his love of the Bonnie animatronic. At this point, it's probably a little too much love, which I think would definitely have been the case if he didn't shove Jeremy inside of it in 1985. However, I think that it's pretty obvious that Springtrap, or even more so Glitchtrap, inspired Vanny's suit as soon as we saw that she had bunny ears in that one promo image from way back in the day, or even when we first saw her head in FNAF VR's Curse of Dreadbear DLC. The suit Vanny wears is also very clearly a suit, made in a similar style to Glitchtrap's suit, which suggests that either William made it during one of his mind melds where Vanessa goes to sleep and he takes over. The suit is patchy with different materials and fabric sewn in square patches over certain places like legs and arms, and it's unknown if these are because of cuts or rips in the original suit or if it's because she just didn't have enough fabric to cover those sections, or maybe she thought it was creepier, I don't know. The stitching all over the body also suggests that it's definitely a suit to be worn by a person. But like, my thing is, if you're just trying to catch Gregory, why dress in a creepy suit? Like, why not just make like a normal mask and be a normal killer? I mean, like, I guess if William made it, and like if it is William, then he's a furry, confirmed. And at 9 works for Fazbear. Vanny, or at least her Vanessa half, if she truly is Vanessa, does in fact work for Fazbear Entertainment, as disclosed in FNAF AR's emails. Vanny has been tampering with the animatronics, uploading Glitchtrap's AI into them, but apparently she skipped Freddy. Like, maybe skipping him because he's like the main man that everyone checks on or something, I don't know. This is confirmed by the emails and special delivery which talk about someone tampering with the animatronics. We don't know what virus she's uploading to these animatronics. It could very well be one that she made, but it could also just be like the main glitch trap virus that she herself is infected with. There are also theories saying that she only messed with Roxanne and Monty and left Chica and Freddy out of it, which is interesting, but according to the trailers recently, no, Chica still attacks you, so they definitely got the Chica. So far all we know is that she messed with some of the animatronics and now they can't be controlled or sometimes even found. Since these emails come from Special Delivery, a game with out of control animatronics, it's easy to dismiss these as about those ones, but it also makes even more sense to be about the animatronics we see in Security Breach, so it could just be both. And at 8, not an animatronic. Vanny does not seem to be an animatronic. Despite Glitch Trap possessing her, there is nothing animatronic-like about her movements. She moves like a normal person, and while there may be some hard to explain things, those things are explained away by saying it's because of William. Which you kinda need to accept at this point, because like, that shouldn't make sense already. Like, if you can suspend your disbelief enough to explain how sentient code was able to possess a human being, you're fine. You can easily have everything else explained by that singular, simple moment in the series. Just William possessed her, that's why. Her voice is glitching because William possessed her, that's why. Her eyes glow red because William possessed her. Yeah, you basically have everything else explained. Plus, you can kind of throw everything else out the window, because if we're going to accept that, then there's nothing that we can really complain about. However, I'm not accepting it, so I'm going to keep complaining, because that's my job, and I love what I do. And yes, I mean, complaining about Five Nights at Freddy's, not making YouTube videos, but the same thing applies to that. And it's 7, reluctant. Given that Vanny was originally being referred to as the reluctant follower on voices.com prior to her name being revealed in one poster, it's still an interesting title nonetheless, since the act of following typically refers to a choice, especially in this scenario. To be a follower is ultimately a choice, whether you make it intentionally or not, but being a reluctant follower of a serial killer shows me that you could back away, but won't. Perhaps because she doesn't want to fight off the influence entirely, who knows, maybe she has like a sicko side that William was able to unlock and now she doesn't need him to go on a killing spree. I don't know. Like me in these videos. Eventually, they will break me and I'll go insane. And then all of these videos will be used against me in court because maybe I'm joking about this a little too much at this point for it to really be considered a joke. And it's 6, the first. No, I don't mean the first as in like I was the first. I have seen everything kind of way. No, I mean that Vanny and presumably Vanessa are making giant leaps forward, not only for women in the Fazbear universe, but for security guards in the Fazbear universe. Being the first non-animatronic character to attack the player, the first female to be a security guard, and the first security guard to have their face shown. These are some major steps in the FNAF world as we typically are playing as the security guard, so seeing their face would be kind of pointless. So we know that even if Vanny isn't Vanessa, although it seems like it is certainly the case, if they are in fact two different people, at least Vanny is a non-animatronic attacking the player and the first female villain, not including robots because they're actual robots and not their characters. One small step for Vanny, one giant leap for Killer Bunny kind. Or is it like FNAF kind? I feel like this is kind of impacting the whole universe as a whole, not just like other killer rabbits. Do you think that Vanny is a bunny or a rabbit? Let me know down below. Halfway through into number 5, Ness. Ness seems to be a nickname for Vanessa, who seems to be the name of the security guard we've been seeing in the merch and in the trailers. However, this Ness nickname seems to be the only connection in the game so far to connect these two characters. Being present in FNAF AR emails, the character known as Ness seems to be exhibiting behavior that would make sense for a character possessed by the sentient code form of a dead serial killer. Googling, according to the creepy HR rep Lewis, the migration pattern of bees and then how to induce compliance in human subjects. And at one point she just searched for help, which is certainly indicating that she knows what's going on to her and that she's blacking out and probably knows why. Could this Ness be Vanessa that becomes or poses as a security guard in Security Breach while also being the psychotic killer Vanny? Since it's something that the FNAF series would do, I don't know if that's really what's going on here. I don't know anymore. I have trust issues because of this series. And at 4, resisting. Vanessa, however, is fighting back against William's control and resisting his influence. Not only does she try and search for help as indicated by the FNAF AR email, but she is also resisting his control to begin with, since he ends up searching for ways to induce human compliance. We learned that thanks to the FNAF AR emails again. So there could be a happy ending to this game yet. William is losing control over Vanny, hence why he needs the animatronics and help. Maybe as Vanny, he made a Vanny robot to take control since he was losing grip over Vanessa. It's FNAF, anything can happen at this point. Who knows the way that Scott wants this game to end? Will Vanessa be successful in breaking free of William's grasp, or will she die? She's probably gonna die. Just after redeeming herself too, because Scott loves to make us cry. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, the plan. Vanny has a plan. Like, we may not know exactly what it is yet, but she has a plan and she seems to be acting on it. She needs Gregory for something since she has selected one, but she also needs other things. The animatronics on her side. William wants us to bring him what he wants, or that could even be Montgomery Gator, but what is that thing? Is it us? Is it Gregory? Is it an animatronic body? Could the Stitch Wraith just be an animatronic building itself up so that William can use it as a body in this universe? Like, is that what she needs, like, to find out? Or like, what? Or will any animatronic endoskeleton do? The entirety of her plan basically is obscured to us, and especially with the recent trailers, they don't really expand on this plan. They just show us that it's supposed to be kind of scary. We only know that it seems to be that she's planning to resurrect William Afton, and if that is her true plan, she could be trying to maybe eliminate him once and for all. Kind of like doing like a double agent thing in her own head, which would kind of be insane. So I'm kind of expecting that now, Scott, so you better not disappoint. But ultimately, in number 2, human masks. This one is particularly interesting in an email I saw from FNAF AR Special Delivery again. This was sent by our IT stalker Lewis and refers to Vanessa buying 3 realistic human masks. Lewis asks if they're for a screenplay, and unless that's a hint to what's going on with the FNAF movie, that's definitely wrong, my guy. The 3 masks could be put over animatronic robots was my first thought, kind of like the Michael skinsuit situation, where it would be an endoskeleton but with realistic facial features and a thirst for blood. I don't really know what else 3 realistic male masks could be for. Like, honestly, do you have another explanation? Like leaving them around to scare people, covering them in blood, maybe to trick William into thinking that she has Gregory, or maybe the different sections of these masks can help reform Afton's face, so she's gonna put that on a robot. I don't know. I don't know why these masks were mentioned and nobody seems to really be talking about it, so again, I had to bring it to your attention. Please help me figure this one out in the comments if you can. Maybe we can make like a community post about it or something and have like a discussion. Finally, in number 1, out of control. But despite all she's doing to try and resist William's influence, she is still being controlled, at least partially, by William, making her dangerous and out of control. I mean, she's trying to kill a kid, for God's sake, who might even be a close relative of hers considering some of the trailer lines. So her being out of control certainly looks to be the main premise of the game. She may be reluctant, but she's hurting people from what it seems, including anyone who was in that security office when she shut all the cameras off, because I'm pretty sure she was the one who did that. The only question now is who will be able to save her, or is she going to be lost to us forever? How easy is it going to be to wipe out a load of sentient code possessing someone's brain when they shouldn't be able to possess a brain as code from the get-go? Because, well, like, a brain's not a computer. At some point, I'm going to have to believe anything this game throws at me though, because simple logic has been out the door since the doors opened up when you ran out of power. That's right, I managed to mention it again.